Welcome to the Bamboo Project YouTube channel. My name is Donivan Gray.
My name is Melissa Burnett.
And we have over 200 videos of us on the YouTube channel. We have vlogs, we have travel vlogs, we have diet videos, we have fitness, it's everything us.
We currently live in New York City, and this is episode 6 of our wholesaling series, where we are currently giving weekly updates on our wholesaling journey.
I definitely thought we would have had a deal by this time already, and we've had a couple contracts. It's just they weren't deals for the people that I brought them to.
This is week 6. She is episode 6, so yeah, she is week 6. So that's over a month now that we've been on our wholesaling journey. I think that if we get something within the first 3 months, it would be amazing. Basically, my main focus for looking at properties right now is to find properties that are preferably 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, and definitely have at least 2 bathrooms with over 1,000 feet of square footage.
Why?
So I'm looking for those type of properties because I feel like those will resell for the most value. Those will resell for the most value. They are the most desirable types of properties, in my opinion, to have 2 bathrooms with a 3, because I've seen 3 beds, 1 bath, and it's like people don't really want those. Because think about it for yourself. If let's say it's you, your husband, and your 2 kids have their own room or something like that, and y'all all gotta share the same bathroom, and then like there's no master bath, it's like nah. And that's another thing too when you're looking at houses, because you have to look at it from the perspective of the person that's either gonna buy it from the fix and flipper, or from the perspective of the person that's probably gonna want to rent it out, and how much money they would pay for something like that. 3 or 4 beds with 2 baths would be the most desirable in whatever market we're looking in, I feel like. So that's what I look for, and I typically look for over 1,000 square feet now, because I feel like that should be the minimum for the property. I've seen properties that's like 600 square feet that got 3 beds and 2 baths, and I'm like, how did you fit that into that space? I don't really think that I've had a lot of phone calls. Whenever I call people, they don't answer the phone, or they get back to me later, or they tell me that whatever property that I'm looking for is already under contract, and that sucks. I'm touching Donivan.
You bought me like 8 times.
It's not intentional.
No, it's just this is what I feel.
No, I mean it's so.
I'm like, and then it's just this. I'm like, all right, maybe.
Because what's happening is my leg is at an angle, and I'm trying to keep my body straight. So if I put my leg here, my body is sideways. But I moved over, so now this should be fine. Now you want to do it?
Do what? Oh. So, I'm actually going to ask you some questions to give some context as to the wholesaling journey. I'm getting the feeling that you don't want to wholesale.
I don't.
Okay. Now, why is that?
I would much rather do other things. I feel like it's not as much as a necessity for me to do it because of how much headway that you've made in it. Mm-hmm. And I felt like my skills would be better suited into doing the things that I was doing before we started wholesaling, which would be clothing and food and all that other stuff, music. But I do understand the urgency of it. Mm-hmm. So this is not really a what I would like to do thing. This is more of a we need to do this. And
another thing I want to ask you is, because I'm about to go, on my Donivan thing. So I just want to get you anything you want to think about, anything you want to talk about with Winnie and any deals that you looked at recently?
I mean, I talked about that last week.
Yeah, what's the update on that?
Well, I think I told him last week too that the deal didn't go through. Winnie did connect me with another agent that could possibly help me for what I'm looking for, because I guess Winnie's market is not suited to that. Honestly, I don't even think I responded to that agent, so I have to respond to that agent.
She said she the person in a different market, or just a different?
I don't know. I just got a text message saying, "Hey, Winnie told me that I'd probably be able to help you out." So I'm just kind of like, "Oh, okay, that's lit. I fuck with that." But I don't really know why Winnie chose or asked this person to help me out.
Last week I talked about I had 2 deals, right, in episode 5. I'm going to put the playlist in below. I'll put the actual video somewhere on the screen, right? I talked about I'm using Jerry Norton's 10K Club. Last week, I was kind of praising Jerry Norton's 10K Club. And the things I said last week, I still agree with as far as giving somebody the tools to learn how to do wholesaling or to use to be better at wholesaling. I still agree that he has probably the most videos on wholesaling on YouTube. So as far as that goes, I still agree with that. Now, I have brought him a deal before, which I talked about on this series, and in Baltimore, and it didn't really work out because I used the wrong comps, and I also because I used the wrong comps, I had the wrong buy price, right? And once they told me that, I said, okay, I can see that. I talked to them. I talked to a couple of other buyers, and they all kind of said the same thing, and they all pointed out, okay, this is what you should probably look for. I talked to agents. They told me this is what you should probably look for. Also, this is, the area as to why it's not selling for the same amount that the other property is selling for. I said, okay, I get that, right? So I took that information. I started looking at more properties, and I came across two more. One of them was unfinished construction, which I talked about. And when I sent that in to submit it for the $10,000, they passed on it very quickly. I'm not sure why. It might be the price range of it. But they passed on it quickly, and I'm like, okay, I get it. It's not a home run. It was more so when I submitted, it was kind of okay, this could possibly work depending on what you want to use it for. So then the other one, which I thought was like, okay, this is definitely a deal. This one right here, I put the work in. I did exactly what comps you told me to look for. I got a good renovation price, kind of. It depends on what you want to do or what you want the property to look like after renovated. So I didn't think it needed a huge, total renovation. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some pictures. I'm going to put the pictures up on here, or I'll put the link of the pictures down low, and then you guys can kind of look at it and say, oh, maybe this does need this much renovation, or so on and so forth. So originally when I looked at it, I thought it needed about $45,000 worth of work to get it to be livable. Not even livable because somebody's currently living there, to make it look good for somebody who wants to buy it. That would have brought the about $45,000 worth of renovations. They were asking $180 for it. I got it down. I got it under contract for $155, right? So I'm like, okay, this is a good deal. The ARV is about $300 with 45K renovations. Do the math real quick. If the ARV is $300, for anybody who does not know, who's new to wholesaling, it's supposed to be 70% times ARV minus repairs. So 300 ARV would be times 70 minus 45,000. It would have been $165,000 at the buy price. That's what I was thinking at, and I got at $155. So I'm like, okay, this is a good deal. When I submitted it, they told me that it would need $75,000 worth of work, right? So that means that I am now $30,000 over the buy price of what I needed to be at. Now, I was not expecting that, right? So I go, okay, I need them to explain that to me. I had called their weekly call, and I was saying, hey, I submitted a deal, but I haven't heard anything back from them. Now, if anybody who does not know, we have an inspection period to actually get the property looked at. So you have 10 days. I submitted the deal on the 13th which was November 13th. And I submitted it on the 14th, and I got it 13th, like in the middle of the night, maybe like 11 o'clock or something like that. So to my surprise, that they actually didn't look at the deal until Monday. So that's Saturday and Sunday. I didn't hear back from them at all. I had no communication with them. So I get a response on Monday, and they're telling me, okay, this is a good deal. No, on Monday it says under review. That's what it said. All it said was under further review. So I'm like, okay, what do I do with under further? What does that mean? Like, what should I change something? Should I update something? What does further review mean? Should I renegotiate? I don't know. And like I said, I have a 10-day inspection period that I can kind of look for other buyers or things like that. I think they might have responded to me either later that day or on Tuesday, because that was Monday that they said under further review. And they said, oh, no, I wrote them again and said, hey, what's under further review? What do you need me to do? The price would need to be at $135. That's what they told me. Now, I'm like, bruh, they asked for $180. The guy told me they can do $160. I negotiated for $155. I said, okay, this is a good deal. I'm thinking I'm doing work. I'm doing well. Just to only find out that I'm still $30,000 over what I needed to be at. So my mindset is, how am I supposed to negotiate another $30,000 off of a price I already got $25,000 off of, right? I'm like, that's $55,000. So I take it back to them, and they are like, nah, we're not doing 135. Like, we're not going to do that. Actually, I told them 133 because I'm like, you know what? Maybe I get extra couple dollars in wiggle room for negotiation. You probably should go to 130. I should have did, but I went 133. So they're like, that's preposterous. Like, we can't do 133. I'm like, listen, just submit it to the seller, see what they say. So the seller comes back. The lowest they would do is 150. So I'm like, all right. They're not gonna do 150. No. When I talked to the agent the first time I got the offer for 135 from Jerry, I told them, they said the lowest they'll do is 150. They're not gonna do 135. I'm like, all right, listen, just talk to them, or 133. Just talk to them, let them know, see what they say, come back to me, and we can, keep negotiating from there. He goes back to them. Right now, the time is going by, and I'm still trying to understand how they got to a $75,000 rehab on this property, because I got some more pictures for the property. The person had already started doing work on the property, so the original pictures that are online on Zillow are not accurate, because the person who lives there started doing work on the property. They were fixing drywall and things like that. So when I got a message from Jerry's team, they said that the reason why the rehab was $75,000 is because there are holes in the wall that need to be fixed. I'm like, perfect. That's good for me, because I have pictures that show that this wall is fixed already. The guy who lives there fixed it. I sent the pictures of, the walls are fixed, the windows are fixed, they fixed the flooring, it's new floor. They respond with, yeah, we still want $75K of rehab. And I'm just like, justified by what? Like, how are you guys justifying that it's $75,000 in rehab if what you told me originally was the reason why it's that high? I show you pictures that say why it shouldn't be that high, and you tell me it's the same price. Mathematically, it doesn't make sense to me. How can you remove renovation costs or renovations and then have the same renovation cost? It doesn't make any sense. So that was one of the issues that I had with that team, right? So first it was them not responding for the weekend and not actually putting anywhere that they don't really respond on weekends. And it's funny because the last time that I sent in a deal, they responded to me on like Saturday at 1 o'clock in the morning or something like that. But now I have to wait until Monday to get a response. The second thing is they said under further review. They didn't actually give me any information. They said under further review. I'm like, okay, what do I do with that? Then they say renovation is $75K. I don't agree with, but I've never done a property before. So I'm like, all right, fine. But can you at least explain to me why? They explained it. I said, okay, perfect. I actually have the guy pictures that's shown that he did more work. I showed them that. They said, well, it's still $75,000. So now I'm annoyed, because I feel like now you guys are just putting the stipulations so that it's harder for me to get a deal. That's how I'm looking at it, right? Now, I tell the agent to tell a seller 133. They come back and say they'll do 140. Mind you, they was at 180. I got it to 155, and then they said their bottom was 150. I take them back to offer 135, and they say we'll do 140 only if the buyer pays the taxes, which is about $3,000 on the property, right? So that means that technically the property will be bought for 143. Now, this is my problem that I have with the club, with Jerry Norton Club. I don't know if it's him. I don't know if it's the team. I don't know if it's like the gatekeeper that takes the deals to him. I don't know who it is specifically, but what they tell you is you have to find a deal that would net them $40,000 net profit, 40K, right? They give us 10K, they keep the 30 and do whatever they want to do with the 30, right?
Because it's isn't it? Wait, what's the ARV of that property?
300.
300? Yeah, isn't it 15% if the ARV is over 267?
Yeah. So it's on this particular deal, it would be 40,000, but over 267, they want 15% net profit. If it's under 267 ARV, they want 40K. So at 300K, 50% is $40,000. So if I got the property at 140, if the property's at $140,000, they would get their 15%. Actually, I think I'm sure this. I'm gonna double check that. 300 times 15.
It's 45.
Oh, so that's okay. So see, that's what it is. That's why they want 45,000 and not 40,000, because it's the 15%. So that's where the $5,000 come from. Okay, so that solves one of my issues that I had, because I'm like, okay, it's over 300,000, it's over 267, but they always ask for $40,000. but that's only when it's under an ARV of 267. And actually, that's not even on the site. It doesn't say that, but he told us that. Either way, it's still over. It's over two. He said over 200.
I think it's in the video.
267.
267.
Because that we printed that off.
I think they changed that.
That's what I'm saying. He told us that.
Yeah.
It wasn't actually up on the thing. So all right. So that's what the problem is. And now I understand why they want to do 135, because it has to be 15% profit, which would be 45K instead of 40K. So if we got the property at 140,000, they would net $40,000. If we got at 135, which is what they want, they net $45,000. So like I said, that kind of solves the issue that I had. So what I was gonna rant about on that is not necessarily the case. But I feel as though I can't even say that. If you guys say you want 15% and it's 45 and not 40, then that is what it is. So I can't really go off of that. So now I'm trying to come up with some creative ways to still sell this property, right? So when I told the agent that they're only going to do 135, no taxes, he wasn't very happy. He's like, hey, my seller came down from 180 all the way down to 140, and you guys only came up $2,000 from 133. That's crazy. So right now what I'm thinking about is doing a couple of different options. I've been looking for other buyers who want to buy it. They're asking prices even underneath the 135 because they see the ARV is like 250 or so, right? I'm like, okay. Other people are saying under 100. There's that. I spent this week talking to contractors. It was my first time really doing that. The contractor went to another property, the one I said the new renovation, and he actually walked the property for free. I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know there was a free thing to do. So he went, walked it. He gave me an estimate of how much it would cost. I sent him pictures of what I wanted to look like. He said it would be about $70,000. This is a different property. The first one I said is a renovation, a new renovation. I'm like, okay, that was free. I just called him. He went. So that helps me a lot going forward, because now when I look for deals, I can go, okay, I can have somebody go and look at it and give me a number on the property without having to spend any money on it. So that really helps a lot. And I can get a better estimate. And if I talk to Jerry, I could say, or talk to somebody in the team of Jerry, I could say, hey, look, here is a contractor in the area that said he can do that work for X amount of dollars. Now, I've heard that contractors are usually underneath the price only because they usually don't know something else might come up, or two, they want to get the job, so they give you a lower amount to do it. That's what I've heard. But this guy sent me a property that he built from the ground up. But that I could only say that, take that with a grain of salt, because I've never worked with him. I don't know what it took to do that property that he built. When
they presented their numbers, the cash buyers that you were reaching out to, did you give them your comps and what you think the ARV is going to be?
One of them I did, the other one I didn't.
Okay. And did they respond to that?
No. He did not respond. I kind of skipped over this. Is how excited I was for the deal, because I felt like this is definitely a deal. I'm like, I got the number that everybody wants. Everybody's happy in this deal. We're good. I got it. So that night when I submitted the on Friday the 13th. Wow, that was Friday the 13th. Really? When I submitted that deal, I was seeing 1234 everywhere. That's number one. I was seeing it all over the place. When the guy called me back, he said, I got the buyer down. He called me in the middle of the night at 12:34. There was that. I was getting texts from him, I think, at 12:34. Then I'm seeing it on and when I'm uploading videos and editing videos, I'm seeing 12:34. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'm definitely about to get this deal. So my body was so amped up for the deal that I was waking up. It wasn't even I wasn't trying to do it, but every hour that night I was waking up in the middle of the night from probably 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. I would wake up and check my phone, like, okay, did I get it? Did I get a deal? There were certain points, or did he respond? And there were certain points that I was dreaming that I woke up and they accepted it. So I would wake, I'm like, oh shit, they accepted it. So I would wake up like, oh, they accepted it. I would check my phone and realize it was a dream. That happened twice in the same night. One of those dreams I actually woke up and woke Melissa up. It's like, yo, we did it. We got $10,000. Like, we finally did it. Like, oh my God, we got $10,000. But it was all a dream. So I just think that was crazy, because like I said, I didn't really get any sleep that night, because every hour I would just keep getting up. I woke up at like 7, maybe even probably 6, and I just stayed up and just I think I might look for deals that day. I was doing something related to real estate that morning. One thing I thought about too that I've realized for people who are wholesaling is there's a lot of leeway with sending the earnest money deposit, right? Because Jerry said that you should negotiate to send it after the 10-day inspection, which is possible. That I've seen that now, but they definitely try and tell you not to do it. And some laws say you have to submit it by the 3rd or 5th day or the contract is void. But I think that's solely up to the person who has the contract, because in both situations that I have right now, the new renovation cost, the guy was telling me that, hey, can you send an earnest money deposit to this title company? And I had told him, look, in the contract I sent you, I said I'm going to send it after a 10-day inspection period. He goes, oh, that's not how we do business here. And I'm like, that's fine. You can put it back on them. He said, but we can't take it off the market and we can't do showings while it's under contract. I'm like, that's not true, because we had a conversation and I told you on my escalation clause, you can do that. You can have showings, you can put it on the market, you can have people come and look at it, you can get buyers, do all of that stuff. And I said, I'm not sending the EMD. And he goes, okay, fine. So if I didn't at least get to that 3rd day point where he would have asked me for it, I may have already sent the money. But then after we had that conversation, he was fine with me sending it after the 10-day inspection period. So now going forward, I'm going to be a lot harder on people I talk to about the EMD, especially agents, where I'm like, I'm not sending that. And listen, the deal's been on the market the house been on the market for 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. You worrying about an earnest money deposit, or do you want to sell the property? Which one do you want to do? It's like, if you want to argue with me about a earnest money deposit that you will get at the end of the 10-day inspection period, then you're gonna lose the deal. Are you okay with telling the seller that? Honestly, now that I think about it, I don't even think the seller cares about the EMD. I think that's an agent thing that they're going by their laws and stipulations that they have in real estate. But I'm pretty sure if you tell a seller, hey, they said no EMD, I'm pretty sure the seller's gonna be like, all right, or no. If you tell the seller they said EMD after inspection, the seller will be like, fine, I don't care, like whatever, that's fine with me.
Yeah, the EMD doesn't go to the seller.
Right, it goes to the title company. So it's like they don't even care.
To give it to the seller.
Yeah, they don't even care if they get it or not. So I think that's solely on the agent to see how not reliable, I guess how serious you are about the deal. Mm-hmm. So there's that. Let me see what else.
So wait, so you're looking at properties that have been on the market for longer now?
I'm doing both now. I talked about it before as far as only looking to be like a day or so, but with the deals that I have right now, they've been on the market for a while. Actually, all 3 contracts that I got have been on the market for a while. The only reason I think, if I'm gonna find a contract or get a deal for it, I'm gonna get a contract for a property that's been on the market for a day, I have to be there within the first hour or two, in my opinion, and get it locked up in that first hour or two. I feel like after that, maybe have a couple hours, maybe, but then everybody comes in. People who don't even know if it's a deal or not are submitting offers. Everybody's just throwing money up there, and nobody knows if it's worth it or not. Everybody's just throwing numbers out there. So it's kind of hard to come in there with an actual comped number, and they're like, well, we have offers that are $40K over asking price. And I'm like, it's not gonna sell for that. Like, that's crazy. Yeah, but we have offers. I'm like, so at that point, if I'm not there in the first 5 minutes and say, hey, all cash, close quickly, dual agency, all that good stuff, they gonna be like, well, we gonna see what the seller wants to wait until the end of the week to see if they get any more. And I'm like, bruh, at that point, like I said, now I'm competing with a bunch of people. I don't want to do that. Yeah. But what I've seen, like I said, I've gotten 3 contracts so far, and all of them have been on the market for close to 100 days or more.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang, I don't even know if I look after the 100 days.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I don't either. But when I started looking up specific words on Zillow to find, those are the ones that kept coming up. So I'm like, all right, and I found them. I'm like, oh.
And I think that makes the most sense, because they've had enough time for them to readjust their mindset about how much the price of the house is going for. Because if you get an agent and your agent is telling you that your house is going to sell for $200,000, but it's really worth $150, whenever people come to you with a price that's reasonable, like they'll say, okay, they might even come to you with a price that's like $140 or $155. $160, which is over value of your house, and you're still gonna be like, no, my agent said that I could get this for $200. The house across the street, mind you, house across the street got a brand new balcony, got an elevator in the crib.
Honestly, that's another thing too. So one thing that Jerry also wants us to do is ask the agent for comps to the property, right, that they have in the MLS. Bruh, maybe I don't know how to comp properties, because I'm like, I can't be bugging, because if I'm going by what Jerry is saying, he's saying if you have a 3-2, get a 3-2. You can do a 4-2, but look for 3 2s, right? Bruh. And he said this. They say the same year. They say, kind of have the same fronting, because one of the properties was like, hey, I sent to them. They said the comp is a stucco, and which is like cement-ish type of house in the front, and then they have brick house. The 2 different types of houses, so they might sell for different. Because think about it. If you're a buyer, which one looks nicer? The one that's all brick, or the one that looks like a cement wall? You want the brick one. It's going to look nicer. So
if it has a basement or not.
Bruh, I be asking them for comps, and they be like, here's a comp. They gonna send me, mind you, my house would be a 2-bedroom, a 3-bedroom, 1 bathroom, 2 bathrooms, 1,000 square feet. They're gonna send me 5 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, 2,000 square feet with a balcony and a roof and a garage and
it's gonna sell for that much. It's gonna sell for that.
Bruh, I seen a comp. First of all, they sent me comps of houses that aren't even finished yet, right? There was a house that had a picture, and the house had 2 garages inside the house. Like imagine this. Think about this. Mm-hmm. It wasn't inside the house, like in the garage. It was, I can get to my garage from my living room. Like, it was like that. And it was like one of them fancy houses where they put the garage in your house. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, my house doesn't even have a garage. I'm like, now you're going to send me the house that was built in 2020 or 2019, and my house was built in 1925? Mm-hmm. I'm just like, what are y'all doing? And they'll send me all these comments. I'm talking to them like, hey, this don't make any sense. One time I'm on the phone with a guy, and he's like, well, I'm an appraiser. I haven't lost an appraisal court case in my whole life. I'm doing this for years. I know how to appraise properties. Sends me a house that has 4 extra bedrooms, 2 extra bathrooms. It's 2.5 miles away, and I'm just like, so now like this is the problem, right? Because I'm new, so I'm looking at it like maybe he knows what he's talking about. But then I look online and everybody's like, nah, that's not how you comp properties. But he's talking about he works for the bank, that's what he told me. He works at the bank, appraising properties, and he never lost whatever he said, appraisal, court case, whatever. And I'm just like, this is why you can't really take what they're saying, the agent's word as law. Because they're trying to get money out of the deal. I'm pretty sure that one fell through. I have to go and check on it. I think it did. I don't really remember. Because after a point in time, once I kind of erased the properties on my list. Not erased, but I don't go back to them if the logic I used to get those properties was wrong, because I don't want to keep calling those people if the way I got to my number was inaccurate or incorrect. So I kind of leave that alone. There was right now what I'm working on, because now I'm I left a bad taste in my mouth about the Jerry thing. At first, doing the numbers again, they want 15%. That's why they want 135. That's literally what it is. And now I understand why they want that. Like, I get it. You're not come past 135. So the other solution I thought about doing, I have 2 more. Since I'm offering a dual agency to the agent, I'm thinking, hey, look, how about you take like a % or 2 off and get that to the seller, to the seller, right? And then the money that I make, I will then offer up some of that to the seller so that we can come to a 140 price and we still get the house sold at 135 to these people. I'm thinking about doing that. If that doesn't work, I'm thinking about just going, okay, how about we do it at 140 and I will pay out of my pocket by myself the extra $5K to him, because I'm supposed to get $11K technically, because the way Jerry's deal works is, if for the first deal he pays you $11,000 because he gives you $1,000 back for the property. He gives you $1,000 back for the course, which is what the cost was. Mm-hmm. So we would get $11,000 back on our first deal. So I'm like, listen, I'd rather everybody get something than everybody get nothing, because if I let the deal go, I don't get any money, the agent doesn't get any money, Jay doesn't get any money, and the person selling the house who's trying to move doesn't get any money. So I'm like, how about this? I'll take a loss. Will you take a loss as far as the agent? And then at least at the end of the day, since we're both middlemen, the person who's selling the house gets what they want, the person buying the house gets what they want, and we get a little bit less in the middle. That's what I'm thinking about doing. So that will probably come out to, if I'm supposed to get $11K, I will give him 5. We would keep 6. And that's if he doesn't want to give up any of his percentage. If he does, maybe I could do like 4 instead of whatever the number was, and we just work it out like that. So I'm gonna call him today, because I think my contract expires on Monday. But again, I'm gonna say, look, you can default or release the contract if you want to, but again, nobody's buying a property. It's been on the market for all this time. It's obviously overpriced. That's what it is. It is what it is. So there's that. The other thing too I've learned is you have to talk to agents and people like you know what you're talking about. You have to have that tone, because even if over texting, you have to do it. You cannot act like you don't know what you're talking about. You cannot talk to them and expect them to give you advice, unless you're going into it with that mindset. But if you're trying to close something, don't go into that. Or even if, I think it'd be better to look stupid on a deal that you think you know about, as opposed to letting them just tell you what's right and what's wrong. Mm-hmm. Because when I'm talking to one of the agents from before, he was telling me that I offered, the house was 178. This is the new construction house. I offered 165 for it, 163. He's gonna respond back and tell me the seller wants to break even at 165. So I'm like, all right. I'm thinking, I thought it was a deal either way. So I'm like, all right, bet, fine. But I had a red flag go off in my head when it happened. Like, who cares about this extra $2K? Like, he's not breaking even at 165. I already know that's not what's happening. I know he's just doing that bargaining thing. Like, I just want to get extra. I want to feel like I won, so I'm gonna get 165 for it. I'm like, all right, but I let it slide. But when I started shopping the property around, people are like, I'm not giving 165 for it. So and when I had the contractor go look at it, they originally told me, the agent said that the property is 1,600 square feet. When the contractor went over there and looked at it, he said it's only 1,000 square feet, and they were probably counting the basement as another as livable square feet. If you're new to wholesaling, they don't really count that as livable square feet. It's rated as above ground square footage. That's how they count. That's how you do comps, right? So I'm like, bro, it's only 1,000 square feet. I'm emailing the agent. I'm like, yo, I'm not paying 165. I'll pay you $98,000, and that's it. He's not worth $98,000. I don't know what you're talking about. The ARVs are $400,000. I'm like, you sent me ARVs of houses that are not built yet, houses that are built in 2019 and 2020. You sent me houses that are not close to the property. They have balconies. This one don't have a balcony. They got backyard. We don't have a backyard. They got rooftops. We don't have none of that stuff. These houses have. I'm gonna post pictures up. These houses look completely different than the house that he's telling me is a comp. So I'm just like, bro, because like I said, at this point I'm kind of fed up. So I'm like, all right, I know I'm not bugging. Like, I know this house looks different than that house, so I know I'm not bugging. So now when I'm talking, I'm like, listen, 98,000. If you're not doing 98,000, the deal is not being done. That is what it is. And I'm telling him, like, the property is not worth 165. Now he responds back to me. Get this, right? He goes, okay, it is probably overvalued at 165. Mind you, it's listed at 178. It's listed at 178. They came down. I said 163. They said 165 because they break even at 165. Now that I'm on my bullshit, like, nah, I don't care about that. Now he's like, well, yeah, you right. 165 is too high. But that's the price that's supposed to be how y'all break even. And another thing, when a contractor went and looked at the property and looked at it online, he told me that they bought the house for like $45,000 like in the last year or two, right? So I don't know how much work they put into the house. I don't know. I don't know if they're putting work into it at all. But he would have had to put $80,000 into the house just to get it to look like how it is right now. About $130,000 into the house to get it to be at 165. No, 120,000. Did he do that? I don't know. Probably not. I don't think it's $120,000 to build a house like that. That's just my opinion, right? So, like I said, now that I said that, he's like, yeah, it is over, the price 165 is high, but I still think that your price is too low, and I think it's gonna sell for higher than what you said it's gonna sell for. I'm like, then show. I'm honestly, I didn't even say show, because I'm like, I know you're lying. I'm like, listen, tell the seller I said 98,000. Let me know what they say. I don't think they're gonna go for it. I'm like, I don't care. That's fine. He tells me that how are you gonna offer 50% under the listing price of the property? They're not gonna go for that. I'm like, listen, what I offer you on the property has nothing to do with the listing price that you put it at. Because if you list it at $1 million and it's only worth $100,000, you can't get mad at me because I offered you $100,000. You shouldn't list it at $1 million. That's your fault. Y'all supposed to list at the right price. So that's how I felt. And I'm like, listen, 98,000. Tell them. Let me know what they say, and we'll get back to it after that. Because I'm not going over 90. Honestly, I think I told them 90 because 98 is still kind of high, but 90, I'm like, we can negotiate from 90 up, but I'm not doing 165. You're bugging. And I'm like, this sounds similar to another property, which is the Rose Street property, where I can see, like I said, people are in the market as an agent. This was going to happen. Everybody's going to charge a huge over the price. It is what it is. Everybody wants to make money. They feel like they're going to get a sucker. I listened to a Jerry Norton video, and he was doing a live call, and the person was saying on the phone was like, yeah, our best buyer is someone who does not know the numbers. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that's very true, because if you come here, you know the numbers, you're like, it's not worth this. And they looking for somebody who's going to be like, I don't know, I'm going to buy this house for $100,000 over. No. And then they get stuck with it. And now they're going to be then they're going to buy it. And they're going to try and sell to somebody else like me who doesn't know, well, I know now, who didn't know before about the property. I'm going to come like a wholesaler like, yeah, look at me, I'm a wholesaler, I got my first contract. Mind you, the contract is $200,000 over what it's worth. But I don't know that before because I didn't know what I was doing. So there's that. And then the last thing I want to touch on is that I saw an article yesterday. No, I saw a video on YouTube. And one thing I hate about these videos on YouTube, I knew when I saw it, I didn't watch it, I saw the thumbnail. I knew when I saw it that it wasn't going to be completely accurate, and I kind of had an idea what it was going to be also. The property I have right now is in Philadelphia, right? So it's supposed to be illegal right now to wholesale in Philadelphia, right? Now, That's what the thumbnail says. But I already know how the YouTube thing works, and that's not what really is happening. And also know how government usually works. They just want to make money off of it. So what they're going to do is they plan on charging people $200 to get a license to wholesale in Philadelphia. They also want you to have to abide by certain rules and laws, and you have to divulge that you are a wholesaler to the seller, and you have to give them the option to get a lawyer for the deal, and you have to you can't offer them a low price on their house without any actual reason why it's worth that. So it's like, it's not really enforceable, but it's just a way to make money off of wholesaling, and because they're not getting no money out of this shit. They're not getting no money out of wholesaling. If I live in another state, right, and I'm wholesaling in Philadelphia, I'm not paying Philadelphia taxes. That's not on me. So I don't have to pay that. But they're like, nah, we want some of that money. So that's what they're doing now. And they're probably going to have it to be a point where it's like, you got to pay for every time you do a deal. Some shit like, it's going to be some craziness like that. But
like a wholesaling tax.
Yeah, like, right, a wholesaling tax, exactly.
Or like out of state, in state, like that.
Yeah.
And then funny, now that you say that too, what's one thing that came to mind is, it's going to be funny because the experienced wholesalers, like, you can show them why you're giving them this price. I'm showing you this is, damn. I'm trying to think. Do they care about profit margins?
I don't think it's profit margin. They more so look at the value of your house. Like, how are you valuing this house? Because somebody might be like, I think house is worth $10,000, and house is worth, and they were trying to they're trying to paint it as like, we're trying to help the black community be gentrification. They don't really know their property value, so they're just selling it for undervalue. And I'm like, but if they're selling it for undervalue, somebody's coming in and flipping it, they didn't have the money in the first place to fix it. So either way, it's gonna sit there and just be a fucked up house. But that's regardless. The last thing I wanted to say was cash buyers. So one thing I've realized, I did my first skip trace. I probably got in contact with. I got on the phone with 3 people out of like 50 something maybe. So skip tracing for me is not really the best thing. I never really liked it to begin with. It's not my thing. But I got in contact with 3 people. One of them is in Philadelphia. He's a contractor. He's going to look at the property. Another person, they said they're going to call me back. They did not. And then the third person, I forgot the third person. We might have had a conversation about it. But either way, I would say overall it was probably a fail. But that's just me. I think the best way to find cash buyers is to just Google cash buyers, because those people are actively looking for properties. You might find a cash buyer list on PropStream, and everybody on that list just has money and bought the property. So yeah, so that wraps it up for episode 6 of the podcast. Yeah, I have a podcast. My brain be on both sides of the thing. Episode 6 of the wholesaling series. The playlist will be in the description below of all the episodes. What else?
Yeah, keep watching the other videos too, or check it out, because everything is Everything Us.
Right, we have 200 videos of Everything Us on this channel. Everything that we do, how we got to where we are now, how we actually met. There's a video when we went on our first trip, went to Chicago. There's a lot of stuff out there. So you explore the channel, have fun.
Dang, we still never put up that first apartment video. I have to see if we still have
footage. Yeah, we can put a throwback on in the title. The bamboo project. If we move out, if we don't get evicted, we could put that on there. And I think there was one more. I think that might be it.
And I think the food changes that we made is working.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I'm dying off the food.
I don't think this is this place for that.
You're right.
Okay. About that.
Bamboo Project
out.
That was terrible.
Right, that was all. I'm trying to get the Bamboo Project out.